All right, so now we have the unit circle. So we finished the unit circle, all four quadrants, and we talked about a couple things here about the unit circle, a couple shortcuts. So the radius of the unit circle will always be 1. If it's not 1, it's not a unit circle. Okay? And then instead of sine being opposite over hypotenuse, we said opposite is always going to be y and the radius will be 1. So that's why sine of theta is the inside angle, y divided by 1. Cosine x, because x is always going to be the adjacent side. And tangent is opposite over adjacent, so y over x. Okay, and then obviously they're reciprocals. Okay, so now what we're going to focus on is some things that are a little different. So I have an example here. Okay, A, B, C, and D, really, the first four problems, the angles we're used to. All of these angles are on the unit circle. But if you look at E, this angle, it's a negative angle. So how do we do that? Well, if you remember, it's been a few weeks, but when something is negative, or I should say if something is positive, if it's a positive angle, we move in this direction. You can see as I move in this direction, the angles are getting bigger, right? Well, if you go in the opposite direction, that's the negative direction. The angles get smaller because it's negative. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to go negative 2 pi over 3. So we're going to go this direction, negative 2 pi over 3, and see where we stop. And see what the corresponding positive angle is going to be. Okay? Well, to do that first, 2 pi over 3. Well, it's probably easiest to change 2 pi over 3. So if I change negative 2 pi over 3 to a degrees, it'll probably be a little easier. Okay, so I'm going to multiply it by 180 over pi. So that means the pi's cancel out. This cancels out as well. So I'm left with negative 2 times 60, which is negative 120 degrees. So really this is negative 120 degrees. Okay, so now I'm going to go back up to my unit circle. And I'm going to go in this direction until I get to negative 120. Okay, so the first line I cross here is 330, but it's also negative 30 degrees. And then negative 45, negative 60, negative 90, negative 120. That's where I want to go. Right here. So an angle with 240 is the same thing as negative 120. So I could have changed this problem to say, what is the tangent of 240? And you would get the same answer. Okay? Because they reside at the same location on the unit circle. Okay? Okay, so now I'm going to move down a little bit. Okay, so E says tangent of, let's change it to negative 120. Okay, negative 120 degrees. Okay, so we found that location. It's right here. So tangent is y over x. So that means I'm going to take the y coordinate and divide it by the x coordinate. So negative square root 3 over 2 divided by negative 1/2. Okay, so what is that going to look like? It's going to look like negative 3 divided by 2. Change division to multiplication, and multiply by the reciprocal. Okay, so these guys cancel out. Negative divided by negative makes a positive. Square root of 3 over 1, which is the same thing as the square root of 3. Okay, so the tangent at negative 2 pi over 3 is square root of 3. Okay. All right, so now let's look at H. Okay, so H. Let me erase this real quick so I got some room. Okay, so h is also a negative. So we got to figure out where. Okay, so I'm going to go negative 11 pi over 6. Well, according to our 11 pi over 6, positive 11 pi over 6 is 330 degrees. So really what I'm doing is I'm going to go 330 degrees in the negative direction, which is almost all the way around. Okay, so let's go back up. Okay, so now let me erase what I've gotten so far. So I'm going to go start in the negative direction, and I'm going to go negative 330. So that's negative 90, negative 180, negative 270, all the way here. That's where I'm going to stop. So right here. Okay. So negative 330 is the same as positive 30. They're the same location. So really, these are the same location on the unit circle. So they're going to have the same answer. Okay. So you've done this problem before, but this one just looks a little different. Okay. So cosine is x over 1, or r. Okay, because r is the radius. So x, the x coordinate at 30 is square root of 3 over 2 divided by the radius, which is 1. So anything divided by 1 just remains the same. So there you go. Okay. Let's see here. Okay, let's do one more negative. So negative, let's see, we did, let's do a negative pi. So letter C here. We're going to do letter C here for example number 2. Okay, so negative pi. Okay, so I'm going to go in the negative direction, pi degrees, which is 180. Okay, so let me erase this stuff here. So I'm going to go in the negative direction. This is pi over 2, or 90 degrees. This is pi right here. So again, negative pi is the same thing as negative 180 or positive 180. So these are all the same. These are all the same. Same location. It's just you went in an opposite direction. Okay? So it's x over 1 or x over r. Okay? So at that location, our coordinates are negative 1, 0. So x is negative 1. So negative 1 divided by 1 is negative 1.